Welcome to CIO Leadership Live. I'm Lee Rennick, VP Tech Evangelist for IDC, and I'm thrilled to welcome Ritu Jyoti, GVP GM of AI and Data for IDC. Ritu, thank you so much for joining the show today. Welcome, and could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Lee. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm super excited to share all the research that we at IDC have been doing. As you said, I lead the AI and automation data and analytics market research and advisory services at IDC. And I am very privileged to work across the technology domains, across geographies, and across the industries, and bring in very, very insightful insights to the end users on this very rapidly changing, evolving market scale.
Ritu, you're going to be on the stage tomorrow presenting on AI and especially agentic AI. So I wanted to dive right into this. So it's great to be at IDC Directions, and you'll be presenting some research tomorrow on agentic AI and how it's impacting business. Most CIOs I'm speaking with are talking about being in full-blown mode with AI right now. They're really looking at ways to create increased productivity across the tech stack and for their customers. Now, I wanted to talk about that first, the impact of AI on the enterprise. So some research from IDC projects that it will have a $22.3 trillion global economic impact by 2030. So I thought we might start off by just talking about that. Maybe you could let me know how that will impact business.
Yeah, we are at a very, very transformative phase of AI right now. As you and I know, AI is nothing new. We've been talking about AI for ages, but in the last couple of years, we have really seen the inflection point as to how it's making a difference. And it certainly became a conversation at the C-suite. I started doing AI research or leading this practice in 2019, and I was shouting from the roof that AI is coming, but I will always see that people were like doubting it. Now people are seeing tangible results. As per our research, we have seen that, Gen AI is making a significant ROI for an average of $1 that is being spent. People are realizing almost 3.5 to 3.7x ROI. So this study that you're talking about is actually done by a macroeconomic excellence team, and they are predicting that the global economic impact, cumulative economic impact of AI will be $22.3 trillion by 2030. And this will contribute about 3.7% of the global GDP at that time.
Wow.
And it will have 4 important aspects to it. So one of them is the direct impact, so all the providers that they're selling AI solutions and services. And then because of that, there'll also be providers in the supply chain that they'll be providing, networking and server and storage. So this is the indirect impact. And there's another indirect impact of it is that all the people who are adopting it will have economic stimulus out of it. And the last one that we're talking about is the induced impact. So induced impact is basically the net new household wealth because of incremental new jobs and roles.
Wow.
And I love this part, which it says that for every $1 that is going to be spent on AI solutions and services, which is the direct impact, there'll be almost $4.8 of an indirect, ROI on that. So That's really, really remarkable.
So in a way, the research is saying, maybe contrary to what sometimes we hear in the media, that's going to take away jobs or it won't have as much economic impact. We're going to see increased economic impact through the use of AI.
So there is an interesting angle and nuance to it.
Okay, and we didn't have this one planned, but maybe you can shed some light on that.
So I would say that, historical, revolutions in the industry show us that every time technology disrupts, it also creates. So there'll be some massive disruption in certain areas.
Yeah, right.
There'll be certain jobs that will be gone forever.
Yeah.
And, in the first era of automation, the traditional automation, we saw a lot of low-level, entry-level automation happening, whether it was data entry or whether it was, say, a document extraction.
Yeah.
But in this case, what is going to happen is because the automation is going to go to the next level. So agentic AI promises to have human beings like you and me. It's a concept of a digital labor. It can plan, it can reason, it can iterate, it can analyze. It's almost like getting a team of people working with you hand in hand. So a lot of middle-level jobs, which actually has advanced levels of automation of doing some deep research, doing some, creating some reports, creating some customer service interactions, they are very poised for massive disruption, including the software development, which is one on the top of the radar. But at the same time, we're also looking into some new jobs being created, like ethicists, account managers. There's also a fun conversation going on that we'll have a human manager for the AI agents.
Right.
So we are in some fun times.
This is interesting.
But let's not dismiss the fact that there'll be some massive disruption, and the way organizations operate is going to be changed forever.
Okay, well, this segues. I'm glad we asked that one because it segues really well into the next question, which is about agentic AI. You'll be presenting tomorrow on it. Our whole conference is really focusing on it. So I'd love to learn a little bit about agentic AI. First, maybe what are some of the ways it can transform business? You just mentioned a few, potential opportunities. And then for the technology leader listening in, what are some of the steps they might want to take to look at how they might use agentic AI to transform their business?
Yeah, the opportunity is endless. I think first I'd like to dismiss some of the myths in the industry. A lot of organizations are thinking that agentic AI is a subset of generative AI. The answer is no. Generative AI was a branch of computer science which was all about creating new content based on existing content. So you can create a new blog, you can create a new video, you can create music, you can create protein structures. And it's going to be really, really transformative in the way that, it actually enhances a workflow. It enhances human productivity. So suppose if I was supposed to put together, a code or an application, I could get the assistance from the GitHub Copilots of the world, and I could actually improve my productivity. But when you're talking about agentic AI, it's basically a subset of machine learning and deep learning techniques that help systems to kind of exhibit agency, set goals, plan, reason, iterate through perception, reasoning, and loop. It's just like a mini human working like that.
Right.
And all this paradigm shift is happening because of all the enhancements that we've seen in the foundation models. Most of them are currently at the text level. But in the future, we're going to see multimodality.
Right.
It can almost do all the things that we have been doing as a human. And the most important underlying thing is that it's taking autonomous actions on your behalf. It's not just giving you assistance. You're asking a question by a prompt, and it's giving you some insights. So now that we have level set that they're two very, very different things and the whole goal is very different, we are in the very early stages of agentic AI. And most of the things, like I always kind of communicate when I speak to the end users, is that all these years you were making use of assistants, in the last 2 years, especially after Gen AI. And now you're going to kind of take it to the next level. So let's take through an example of, say, you had a customer's, order status inquiry. So it was an assistant. You ask a question, and the response, you get it by AI assistant, which was working 24/7, can give you your responses and assist you. But the human was still in the loop and taking the action. The next stage, which we are at the inflection point right now, is the autonomous AI agent. So you're kind of thinking about, suppose you were as a customer, you actually are looking for, a scenario in which you want to actually request for some kind of a refund or exchange. A very interesting example that comes to mind is that someone bought an outfit for a wedding, and it was not of the right size, and he or she actually wanted to change it and get it the exchange within a stipulated amount of time.
Right.
But when they went online and requested for it, the stuff was not available. The assistant would have just responded by saying that it's not available and you can actually give you a refund. If it is an agent, it's reasoning. It's figured out that, this customer stays in Manhattan and there is a store close to his house, which is actually having something in the stock because somebody just refunded
Right.
or returned one of those kind of same size of the outfit. So it reasoned and went back to the customer and said, Mr. Customer, what if I get it ready for you in that shop? Will you be able to go and pick it up? And it can be ready for you within the next 36 hours for you to pick up. And the customer responded, yes, that would work out. Then the agent also reasoned because of all the inconvenience, just the way a customer service person is doing,
Right.
that we can actually offer you a refund, sorry for the inconvenience, and give
Right.
you a refund. And in this case, you could still have a human in the loop who can decide the amount that has to be refunded. But with more advancements in trust and technology, we can actually see a fully autonomous agent. So what my advice to the end users is that the day is coming when you will have a fully autonomous customer service representative,
Yeah.
which can not just address the level 1 and level 2 of the task, but also can do level 3, level 4, and level 5. It can do all kinds of reasoning just the way humans do. So my advice to the end users is that it's early days, but the future belongs to the organizations
Yeah.
who can actually adopt it with speed, with precision, and trust. So you get started in this journey, but exercise your due diligence. You don't have to just rip and replace that you were using Gen AI and you want to use agentic AI. Don't force fit the technology.
Right.
Build the right set of use cases.
Yeah.
Focus on the high value use cases. Make sure you're preparing for people's strategies and the human and machine collaboration. Make sure you have the right measurement and optimization. I can go on this,
yeah.
but do, kind of POCs and experiments, then do focused rollouts, and then kind of prepare to scale. But get on this journey. This is not agent washing going on. This is real. And the better you prepare for yourself and the better you actually focus on the right set of use cases in the decisioning framework, the more you're set up for longer term success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that overview, and that makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate you going into the detail of how it will probably be rolled out with businesses across, the world, really, right? Okay, so we're just wrapping up the first quarter of the year. It's April 1st today. Happy April Fool's Day. But you were just talking about, some of the emerging ways, but are there any other emerging areas that you can highlight from your research that tech leaders should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think the journey has begun, like in the past decade and so. Today, AI is becoming a reality because there were a lot of advancements that happened in the field of data, in the field of cloud computing.
Yes.
And now, with all the emergence of the rapid evolutions in the compute powers, in terms of edge inferencing, we'll see a lot more explosion of this. But the next chapter is going to be, I know everyone's talking about AGI and people are talking about quantum.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot more.
Quantum.
Yes, we will see a lot more, realization of humanoid robotics, physical AI.
Yeah.
That's the next chapter.
Yeah,
that
I
we all should
appreciate
be
you sharing
prepared.
that. And what I'm hearing from a lot of the CIOs is they are still going on a data journey. Some are, very sophisticated in how they're looking at it, whether they're keeping it on-prem, on servers, or in the cloud. It's a combination now, whereas a few years ago they were saying cloud, cloud, cloud. Now
Yeah.
it's all structured differently, and they're doing it specifically to make sure that how they're using the AI is going to be successful. Okay, well, I appreciate this so much. So as we wrap up the year, I'd love us to let our audience know about any research that highlights you might, and research you might have planned for the remainder of the year that might be coming
Yeah,
out.
we are going to be super busy. We are working hand in hand with our end users and technology suppliers as well as investors. But some of the research that I'd like to highlight is that be on the lookout for our ongoing cadence of surveys because you'll get a lot of peer insights, and there's nothing better than to learn from your peers as to what are the best practices that are emerging. The second important part is that we're going to do a lot of thought leadership research on how the stack is going to be disrupted. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, tonight is the day when we are publishing one of our AI Council research on the disruptive impact of the tech stack, as well as the future of work and services. And I'm so proud of all the talent at IDC that came together to kind of contribute. And we're giving some very tangible guidance to the end users for every part of the tech stack, what they can do, and as well as the technology suppliers as to how they have to play a very, very significant role in helping the end users succeed in that. Honestly speaking, I think the tech suppliers are also in a very challenging situation because they'll be disrupted the most. And they'll have to figure out how do they change their business model going forward. So there's tons of advice for them as well as to how they can actually kind of capture this momentum and this disruption, in some cases, they'll have to reinvent themselves. So there's a lot of advice on that. The other important thing that we're super proud of is that, the trust factor that we all talk about is so critical. So we'll be doing AI governance productscapes and AI governance marketscapes, helping the end users kind of look into what are the right set of tools, which ones should they do, what are the critical success factors, how should they kind of evaluate these tools. So I can, go on, but these are some of the most promising research that we are going to kind of, be very, very proud of and, looking at a regular cadence of enhancing them and providing guidance.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure we enclose a link in this post so that people can sign up to our newsletters and any information they might need to receive to get involved in the research you're doing, especially as well. I can't thank you enough. I just want to keep this conversation going and going and going. So I'm hoping that we'll have a chance to do that. I'm looking forward to your presentation tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm hoping we can make this a regular cadence so we can update our listeners and on everything you're doing in the aspects of research around Gen AI.
Absolutely. I would love to, Lee, and thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you, Ritu.
Thank you.